Okay, so hello. Hola, porque estamos en
Hello.
España con Radu,
Yes. Hello, I'm Radu. I'm the head roaster of Santa Coffee because we're here at the
Santa Coffee,
roastery.
Málaga,
Yeah.
Tomás Heredia 3.
Tomás Heredia Tres.
Sí. Y we're gonna talk about the roasting for cuppings, how to prepare, and the sampling. So first, just a quick recap on your story. So you came from Romania.
Yes.
You roasted coffee in Romania for how long?
For like about 5 years.
Right. So you started
Less at the beginning, more at the end, but in
right.
total for about 5 years.
So you started like 7 years ago in Romania. You roasted coffee there.
Yes, and in the last 2 years, I've been roasting coffee for Santa Coffee.
So you moved from Romania straight to Santa. Just
Well, first in a coffee shop in Santa Coffee Cathedral.
okay.
I've been working there as a barista, and then they offered me the opportunity to work for the roastery.
Perfect.
And here I am.
So at the roastery, when you started first roasting coffee, how did you come to learn about it? Did you have a master that told you the craft, or how did it work for you?
Basically, my journey in the coffee industry started with a friend of mine that was a barista, and I was working night shifts in a pub in my hometown over there. I was just doing cocktails, and I really like the Horeca industry vibe. And I got more interesting in coffee because we had coffee there, but we didn't really enjoy it that much.
Right.
And we went to do some espresso brewing classes, and that's basically how I got my interest.
Right.
I asked that friend of mine that was basically a barista, and he didn't want to teach me anything because he told me that, man, it's complicated. You need time to learn, to study,
Yeah.
to read, stuff like that. You're not going to be into it. I'm just going to waste my time teaching you something that you're not going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that
So you
got
proved
me.
them wrong.
That got me pretty mad, and I
Yeah,
said,
I
"Okay, my
suppose.
friend, you don't want to teach me anything. I'm going to learn by myself." And basically, that's how it started.
Right. So you had to prove him wrong that this hobby is actually something you were going to get into heavily, and you got into it heavily, competing in Romania at roasting competitions.
Well, I didn't really compete in a lot. I just competed with friends for like, I don't know, having fun and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
But that's about it. My competition experience is not that big, but maybe someday I'm gonna decide that I want to develop more that part of the craft.
Of course. And you started as a barista, or you went straight into roasting?
I started as a barista because it's coffee. The love for coffee is something that you acquire, and basically working with coffee is the first thing I found that doesn't get tiring. I just can work with coffee 24/7.
Right.
Until I don't know, basically maybe I'm gonna die of someday of coffee.
Yeah, caffeine overdose, probably.
Yeah, but I still have some more years in me. So.
Yeah. If you do a cupping with like 100 coffees and you just finish all of them, that's enough to die, probably. So
I don't
maybe
think
only 50.
I'm not I don't think I'm not even gonna try that because I'm trying to quit on caffeine intake,
Okay.
but I'm not really able to because you have to drink coffee if you have to stop and stuff.
Right, of course. But the cupping amounts, when you do the cuppings for the roastery or when you just try the little samples, you just have to try it. You don't have to drink a whole cup, or you don't have to drink 10 cups a day. You could, I think, get away with 300 milliliters a day, right? Of samples.
Well, yeah, but there's a part of drinking coffee that's very, very, very interesting to me because a coffee, if you drink it, needs to be pleasant
Right.
after you drink it.
Of course.
But if you don't drink it, you just taste it, you're never gonna know how it feels for the body.
Yeah.
So from time to time, it's better just to drink to see if the acidity is there, but it's not too much for the body because maybe your palate is okay and you enjoy the acidity it has, but for the body it's too much.
Right.
And it's not gonna be able to take it. If you want to sell a coffee that's enjoyable to drink, then it better not kill you with acidity or with some other flavors that are very invasive.
Yeah, of course. And then when it comes to the acidity, because there's two parts that people want to cut off on. The acidity is one thing that people are scared about with coffee, and then the other one is obviously the caffeine. So we'll come to the caffeine after, but first with the acidity. How do you describe the feeling when you have like too much? Because you're saying like for the palate it's okay, so you like the taste, but then you feel bad. So how can people like recognize this fact that they drink a coffee that's too acidic for them, for their body?
Well, it's each with its own, because each a person is different. Each one has its own body. It depends on a lot on your alimentation, on what you eat, if you drink enough water, if you do all kinds of stuff that you should do, especially if you overdo it with any kind of product. It doesn't necessarily have to be coffee.
Of course,
It can be whatever. It can be tea.
Sugar.
It can be sugar. It can be
tobacco.
tobacco. It can be all kinds of stuff. It can be chocolate. It can be whatever.
Of course.
Everything in excess is bad for you. So you just need to find a little bit of balance. And that's about it.
Yeah, it's everywhere in life. And then how much? What was like at the most caffeinated point of your life? What was like the most coffee you would drink in a day?
I don't know, but I've had time when I was exaggerating with drinking espresso because I didn't really have time to cup.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at least in the beginnings of my roasting adventure, that's how I would decide if a roast is good or not, or if something is changing. Because the majority of our drinks were espresso based.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do too many filters and stuff like that, so the filter part didn't interest me that much.
Right.
And that's why I started drinking a lot of espresso. And it was like basically not because I needed the coffee intake. I just was curious about the taste and the flavor and how flavor changes given the temperature you use or the things you change in extraction, grinding, extraction times, volume of water you use, and stuff like that. Everything changes a little bit, and that's what was my way of learning about flavors and stuff like that. By drinking espresso until I had a few experiences and that were very, 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 very interesting. But I got over it, and now I'm just learning to find a little bit of balance between basically work and life.
Yep. And when it comes to the debate of espresso and filter, of course, filter is a simplification of all the more 1 to 15 or 1 to 17 methods. So all the percolation, like the drippers, but also the infusion, like the French press, and of course the OG cupping. Actually, cupping is something that people in Poland do. Like, you know, the most basic way to drink coffee in Poland is a cupping, but they don't know it's called a cupping. And outside of Poland, people don't really do that. And I'm wondering, when you compare the concentrated brew versus the more diluted brew of filter, it has a very different like taste profile, and different like notes show up in the different ways of preparation. And in general, do you have a good balance of 50% espresso, 50% filter, or do you prefer espresso over filter? Or which way is it now? And how did it evolve over time as you get more experienced?
I would prefer not drinking coffee unless I have to.
Okay, so you're sick of it.
I'm not sick of it, but it's just so much amount you can take.
Right.
And if you overdo it, you're just gonna overdo it, because we in the coffee industry, we don't just drink a coffee in the morning. Maybe we don't even drink coffees in the morning. We drink coffees calibrating our machines and stuff like that. And when we only take a sip and stuff, and we know we're gonna drink more. So I'm just not trying not to overdo it. And if I need a cup of coffee, I'm gonna drink a macchiato or a cortado, something that's very fast and doesn't need a lot of. Or what I do lately is I try a lot of filter coffee that my colleagues prepare.
Right.
Because we have the brew bar over here, and my colleague Juan is quite knowledgeable.
So that's the brewer, right?
And he knows. I don't know where he is, but he's hiding around here somewhere.
Right. So this is the brewer, and this is an experience by Juan, right? There's the coffee sessions by Juan in the brew bar.
Yes.
So
he's our master brewer, and he's our head barista.
Right.
And he's basically helping me a lot in deciding coffee profiles and picking the coffees that are more interesting, and they're like more flavorful or more new, or something that goes well with our idea of roasting and preparing coffee.
Right. And when we cupped the Kenyas today, you said that one of them, the one that I like more, you said would be, maybe that was not a Kenya, you said that it would be for a great espresso.
Yeah,
And the other one that you said that was amazing in general, like the one that I think we both like the most, that was probably, I would say that's a great V60 one, or like great pour over coffee.
Well, given the fact that it's a natural, it goes very well in simples, of course, but it should go very well in espresso. Maybe I can find a very good only roast from that and find a little bit of balance so that people can enjoy it in espresso and in filter also. I'm not very, I don't really agree that much with roasting only for one thing or only for filter, because you basically limit the potential of the product a lot. Of course, because people aren't going to be able to make espressos out of it, aren't going to be able to use it for various types of stuff. And it's like you can only sell it for a quarter of the people.
Yeah.
Basically. But well, the filter scene is developing a lot lately, and the Nordic people just only drink filters. So yeah.
And you have the blacklist coffee, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's co-fermented with sangria.
Yes, it's not co-fermented with sangria. It's a coffee from Colombia that we call Colombia sangria, and it's a coffee co-fermented with fruits that you normally use for sangria.
Yeah, so it's like a sangria recipe, not sangria.
Yeah, but without the wine.
Yeah, of course.
It's only the fruits.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why it's such a fruity, delicious, like juicy.
It's a coffee fermented with fruits, and we added a little.
Somewhere over there on the shelf, right? I'll try to show. We have it on the selection right here in the brew bar. So if somebody wants to try it, you usually have it for batch, right?
Yes, we have it for batch every day, and given the limited amount of coffee that we have, because for the type of blend we only use micro lots.
Of course.
Well, it's gonna end, but we're gonna create another one that we're still gonna call Blacklist, but it's gonna be with different coffees.
With different sourcing, yeah.
We're just gonna try and keep the same profile of the coffee.
Right. But it's from Colombia?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually Colombia is like the #1 producer of co-ferments, right?
Well, they like to experiment a lot, and they from what I see, they got this idea that maybe you can add stuff to the coffee that's not very invasive from the product point of view.
Right.
And there's very interesting flavor that can come out of that. It's a trend. I don't know for how long it's gonna be or how much it's gonna taste, but people are getting better and better at fermented coffees.
Yeah.
The first samples of co-fermented coffees that we got, they were very, 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 the co-fermentation was a lot. They were very invasive, but now they're trying to balance the stuff a little more.
Yeah.
But I guess the co-fermentation process is not that easy, and it's very difficult to co-ferment the coffee in the same way because beans are different.
Right. Every lot is going to be different, and then the fruits
maybe
also.
It rains, maybe it doesn't. The fruits are different, so you don't know how much of time, the amount of time you need, so that you can replicate the same process each time and basically or have the same flavor profile in each crop.
And is the blacklist available in decaf, or is it the normal caffeinated version?
No, it's the normal caffeinated version.
Okay, and you think that the decaf co-ferments are going to be a big thing, right?
Well, I hope they will, because it's a very friendly way of giving flavor to a product that people enjoy only because they like the flavor. They don't need caffeine. They don't need the coffee. They just like drinking coffee, basically, but they cannot take the caffeine.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a very friendly way of introducing people to these type of flavors that you may encounter in coffees, because the co-fermentation is it's basically a way to potentiate the flavors that can encounter in a normal coffee that doesn't have so much processing involved.
Right. And what do you think about decaf in general? Because there's this split, there's this whole movement. I don't know if you've seen people with the tattoos like Death Before Decaf and all this caffeine addict hating on the people who just want to drink the coffee. But obviously, if you think about it, it seems obvious what you just said, that the people who drink the decafs are the people who truly like the coffee, just for the coffee, just for the experience, just for the taste, and they don't need the drug.
Well, people, it's my opinion, and it's an honest one. People who afford to decide in my place or in your place, if they can decide that it's bad to drink decaf, or it's bad to drink coffee, or it's bad to drink co-fermented coffee, or it's bad to do whatever. It's just something that people do. If I enjoy doing stuff in my way, I'm gonna do it if you like it or not.
Right.
So yeah, you don't like decaf, but it's a very strong attitude to decide that you don't like the people that drink decaf.
Yeah, that's insane.
Just because of drinking decaf. It's not something you should go when you decide if a person is a good guy or not, or stuff
Yeah,
like
of
that.
course. I don't think people go that far to morally judge somebody for drinking
Well,
decaf.
now it's a trend to hate matcha, but who am I to decide? I don't drink matcha, but people drink matcha, so people enjoy drinking the product.
Yeah, but the
If
thing
they
with hating
respect
matcha,
it, if they respect the tradition of it,
That's the
or
thing.
they don't, that's not of my business. It's not
Yeah.
my problem.
because you don't have matcha in Santa.
We have in the coffee shops,
Right.
in the brew bar. We don't.
Right.
We only
It's
have
just coffee.
yes. We only have coffee. We don't have any type of pastry. We don't have any type of anything. Just coffee.
Right. And with matcha, it's one of the people that one of the points that people bring the most is just the fact that the trend for matcha, because there's a lot of people who drink specialty matcha, just like the people that drink specialty coffee. But if you look at the whole market of coffee, the specialty coffee is probably less than 1%. And the same with, correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
It's like a very small amount. Even here in Malaga,
it used to
you have
be.
probably like 1,000 cafes, and maybe 30 that are specialty, right?
I don't know if there's 30 of them.
Yeah, I've seen 5.
Well, you've seen 5 in Malaga, but there's not many more.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a few more, but not that many.
Yeah, and with roasteries, you have Santa and you have Kima. And do you have any other roastery of specialty coffee in Malaga?
I think they are. I
Okay.
think there are, but I didn't really make any research.
Right, of course.
I asked her. I don't know. I didn't make any research. I don't know who's doing what, because it's not a lot of my interest, and I don't really have time to see what other people from around us are doing.
Of course. And I'm wondering about the trends going towards the decaf co-ferments when you say that this would be a nice way to give people just the flavor and the hobby. Don't you think that co-ferments are really good for entry-level cuppings? Like when people come to a commercial cupping at a cafe just to see their first cupping in their life, for instance.
Yeah.
Basically, before my first cupping, the barista told me that they usually want to have like a start without the co-ferment and then have a co-ferment on the table just so you can compare, but to also see the notes in the raw coffee. And I gotta say, the most fruity coffee I've ever drank was not a co-ferment. It was like a really good Nestor Lasso Ombligon. That was the only coffee that I drank, and then I cried from happiness because that was insane. I don't know if you ever tried Nestor's coffees.
Yes, we've had some, we've received some as a gift and stuff like that. I don't think that we've ever had coffee from Nestor Lasso. To serve, no, never. But we've been enjoying some Nestor Lasso coffee, and they're great. Yeah.
And it's very interesting to me to see this trend of specialty going into other places than coffee, because I think, like, if I would have to say what's the number one thing that coffee gave me in my life, is the attitude, is the mentality of specialty. I would say that in specialty coffee, I really love the coffee, of course, but the specialty is like the part that interests me the most, because, of course, specialty is just a level of quality of the beans done by Q graders, but I think it became so much more. If you were to define what specialty is, like how would you differentiate specialty coffee? What would you say that specialty coffee is for you?
Well, specialty coffee comes more from the farm than from the roastery, like in itself.
Of course.
Because you can roast whatever beans you have, but making them specialty is you can roast the specialty coffee in a bad way and still drink it, and it's still gonna be something that you can enjoy.
Of course.
maybe you won't, but the potential is there. But from a bad coffee, you can roast it in
It will not be
50
great.
million ways, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be
Exactly.
great either way. So it's more of a farm issue and the producer stuff than a roaster or a barista part. They can get things wrong and they can make a good coffee bad, but they cannot really make a very bad coffee very good.
Yeah. And
Basically.
what do you think about places calling themselves specialty cafes? Because Santa is just a Santa coffee, right? It's not a Santa specialty coffee, or is it?
It's Santa specialty coffee.
Okay. So do you think that there should be, because for instance, when you have the Specialty Coffee Association, they have different check marks of or different recommendations. They have, of course, the Q grading, but that's just for the sourcing. And then after that, they have some specifications of how it should be roasted, probably. You probably know better than I about all the SCA requirements.
I think that you don't receive roasting information from the producer or the provider from. I don't even know. Maybe if I asked, they would give me some hints or something like that.
Right.
But it's very dependent on the machines you have. It's very dependent on the knowledge you have. It's very dependent on what you want to do with the coffee, what do you want to use it for. So roasting information is not very useful.
Right.
Basically.
No, but I mean just like some guideline of quality, because when you have the Q graders cup the coffee and grade them, have you ever been to an official like grading or cupping or something like this?
I've attended cuppings from various places, and I understand it's exactly the process. But the thing is that's why we ask for samples and we pick the coffees that we want.
Right.
That we like, that we enjoy. It doesn't really matter the punctuation it has.
Of course. Yeah. The points are just information.
The points are just information that might help you
pick a nice coffee.
Pick a nice coffee, decide on what type of flavors you want, but it's not. It's coffee. It's a taste to acquire, and each one likes its coffee in its own way.
Yeah. For instance, in the morning, I don't know if you know the Liter specialty coffee, right next door.
Yeah.
But I spoke to the barista there, and she told me, because they had some Brazil, of course, on the espresso. She told me that she doesn't really like the third wave acidic flavor that much. That she prefers this more classic nutty frutos secos.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that enjoy that.
Probably most people enjoy the classic Italian coffee. That's why it's so popular.
Yeah. In our coffee shops, basically the best-selling coffee is Brazilian coffee.
As always, yeah.
Because it's more affordable as a price, and the taste is very, very friendly. It's a very good passage between commercial coffee and specialty coffee, because it's like very a nice coffee. It doesn't have a lot of acidity, it's nutty, chocolatey, stuff like that, and it's like a very good step in the specialty coffee direction.
So I'm just, for this question, I'm gonna just take a bit more distance and shield myself. But of course, we have to be sure that you're doing your best job, of course, as you can. But you have to look up to your mentors, and of course, I know you can try with the Brazils, with the classic roast, but of course, you can never do a coffee as good as the Italian Lavazza, right? It's just the best in the world.
Well, if you ask an Italian, yeah, it's probably the best coffee in the world. Or maybe I made a friend, an acquaintance, a guy that's roasting the coffee in Italy. It's called Frank Cafe, and it's one of the best Brazilian coffees I've ever drank in espresso in my life.
Yeah,
it's a coffee that he gifted to me when he came here, that he roasted, and I honestly don't know how he roasted it, but it's great. Or what type of beans, or where did he buy them from?
Because probably those commercial companies like Lavazza, Cibo, they managed to crack a profile that suits most people, and that's why they're popular, I would say. Of course, the market dominance and all the other factors are there. But why do you think the most popular coffee, even from home? I'm not talking about cafes, but well, even here you have a lot of classic cafes. They have the Ili sign or the Lavazza or the Cibo. So the reason that they're so popular, I think, is well, one thing is of course the Italian marketing of coffee, but then the second thing is just that as we talked like with the barista from Literal, most people just like those like sweet Brazilian nutty flavors.
Yeah, it's something that some people like, some people don't. I'm never gonna judge someone for liking co-fermented coffee or natural or washed or whatever. If he likes it, then it's the best coffee for him.
Yeah,
great.
But what is your opinion in general on companies like Lavazza, because they sell like more expensive coffee than the other ones? It's not specialty, but it's this flavor profile that suits most people. So what would you say about that?
Well, if people are paying for it, they must be doing something right, because if they wouldn't pay for it if they wouldn't enjoy it.
But have you ever tried a Lavazza?
Yes, of course. I've tried all kinds of coffee, and I wasn't born in the coffee industry specialty scene and stuff like that. I started with all kinds of shit coffees, and I drank everything basically. Very bad coffee, very bad extracted coffee, very, I don't know. I have Nest and everything. I've enjoyed everything.
So like from the worst that you tried in your life to the best that you tried in your life. So let's say the worst one is just something absolutely terrible. Of course, that's easy to define. And the best one is like the absolute most interesting sample you get in a cupping that you couldn't even get because it was like produced in such a micro lot that it was not feasible to produce to make for the roastery, right? So this is like the best one. And the worst one is, of course, just like something terribly messed up, you know, wrong settings and everything, wrong farm.
Where
wrong
would I
roasting,
put? Where would I put Tilly and Lavazza?
Where would you put like Chibo, Lavazza?
Well, basically in the middle of the pack. I would put it in the middle of the pack with one mention. Freshly roasted coffee is. It doesn't really matter if it has high punctuation, low punctuation. I don't know. It's always gonna be better than a coffee that's been sitting in a shelf for like 2 years or 3 years or how.
Years, of course, but there's this interesting thing when it comes to the freshness of coffee, because many people would argue, and I think I tend to agree with them, having my own experience, of course, very little experience, but the one that I have, I think it's really true that the most important thing for the coffee, well, the three factors that you make the coffee with is the most important. Is that, of course, the sourcing of the beans and how it's roasted, so it's like the coffee, the beans, are really important. If you have good beans, and whatever you do with them, they're probably gonna be good. But you also need to have good water. This is the number 2, or even maybe the number 1, because I got lucky. I almost put the Nestor Lasso coffee in the worst water I had. Luckily, I didn't do it because I only had like 50 gram sample. But I took a decaf from Ranti Roaster from Wrocław. I bought a decaf from him, and then I went to a village where my cousin lives, and I wanted to do like a coffee experience for them, so I brewed a V60 of that. But that village, it was like Niepołomice, it's like near Krakow, and it was like village water, you know, very, very hard water.
Yeah.
And it was so hard that even after filtering it in a Brita, it was still way too hard to brew anything good. And I brewed some terrible old Lavazza, and I brewed a freshly roasted decaf from Ranti, and it tasted the exactly same, because the water was so hard. So the water is like, I think, the most important thing. Then you have the beans, because without water, there's nothing. Then with good water, you need good beans. And then it's best for you to have a good grinder. And how much would you rate, like when the scale is like the most important, let's say, is water and beans like equally, and the least important is I don't know, something unimportant. How much would you rate the importance of the like quality of the burst?
The quality of the burst. Well, the quality of the burst it has a very big impact on extraction. The grind size, the grind quality, if it has too many fines, too little fines, depends on what you're going to use it for. But
let's say for filter. For filter, you have a grinder for, let's compare a grinder, not like some cheap like ceramic, but let's say you have like a cheap Timor that has 42 millimeter burst. I just saw the Timor C5 Pro for 60 euros. So that's a 60 euro grinder. That's very good.
Yeah.
So you have like this Timor, for instance. So it's like an entry level home barista grinder. And then let's compare that to Weber EG1.
Well, it's
with the flat burst of 78 millimeters.
This coffee industry is just such a rabbit hole for buying stuff that you cannot even imagine.
Yeah.
there's stuff coming up each year, new stuff. That's very good, but there's some stuff that's so expensive, and it's so expensive only because it's new, and that's not quite all right because you cannot put a price on some things only because they're new.
Right.
But there's stuff that you need to pay for if you need, if you're searching for a certain quality of your product, then you have to buy machinery that helps. You have to buy, and that means that you have to spend some money on it. Everything is important in its own way. Grinders are important, water is important, coffee is important, but the most important thing is enjoy what you do. It's a lot more important than the machine you use, the grinder you have, because you can have great coffee with an EK, you can have great coffee with a Weber, you can have great coffee with a Comandante, you can have great coffee with any kind of machine of any kind
but
of
not with a blade grinder or something like this.
I've had good coffee with a blade grinder also. The only problem with all kinds of machinery that breaks coffee or grinds coffee or stuff like that is because you cannot replicate it.
Yeah.
That's the main issue, because maybe you get the
like
settings. It's just like a roulette. This morning you get the settings right and you do the thing and you find I don't know, a grind size that you're never gonna be able to repeat.
Yeah.
And you enjoy your stuff. And you enjoy the coffee and you're drinking and it's great. But tomorrow morning you're gonna get fucked because you're never gonna be able to replicate.
Exactly, you cannot
And
repeat
that's how spending money helps you in your experience
just
of
replication.
The coffee
Exactly.
industry.
And so let's try to think of something absolutely crazy that could become a trend in the competitions, because I don't know if you've seen recently somebody won some sort of barista championship. I don't know, probably maybe it was even the World Barista Championships, maybe it was a local one, by doing 3 different grind sizes and 2 different waters for every 60.
Yeah.
So I guess the Brewers Cup. So they did, I think they put like coarse grinds at the probably at the bottom and the fine grind at the top, or the other way around, but they had a scale of grinding, and then they poured like one temperature of water and then a different temperature of water to optimize the extraction, to optimize the flavor profile. So I'm thinking, when you did a blade grinder, you're having very different sizes. So I would want to see somebody just trolling the competition and go there with a blade grinder and keep talking about the fact that, well, it grinds irregularly. So when you shake it, the fines go to the bottom, the coarse grind goes to the top, and then you have a gradient of fines. But well, you would probably need a different like inverse gradient, but maybe you can inverse it somehow.
You're thinking at something that's basically impossible. Maybe like if you wanted to throw a competition or something like that, it would be okay. But what happens if you win?
That's the thing. See, I met the Polish. I'll probably cut this out, but I met the Polish champion of Aeropress of 2021. I'll cut the year out. Yeah, I met him. I watched the video of how he. Oh, actually, this is all public knowledge. I watched the podcast of him talking about how he won the competition. He says he prepared on some cheap grinder. So when he, for the first time in his life, touched a Comandante in the competition, he didn't know how many clicks is like the good grind setting. So he completely fucked it up, and that's why he won the Polish championship.
Yeah. Basically, you need a bit of luck in everything, even if it's competing. I've roasted coffees. I had no idea how to roast, and I just gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And it ended up, the first profile ended up the best profile I've ever roasted with that type of coffee.
Yeah.
The first one. Well, if I would have done that in a competition, maybe I would have won. Who knows? But
Yeah.
you can get lucky and you can win, or you can get lucky and, well, I don't know, find something that's very interesting, or invent something that's very useful, or do whatever. Luck is involved in everything. So
yeah, that's very true. And I think that especially like when I said about the Nestor Ombligon coffee that I tried, it was like the reason that I cried about it, that it was so good. I think that was just because I had a huge fluke. Because I don't know how to brew the perfect V60. I don't have the perfect technique. I don't even believe it exists, because there's so much, as you're saying, luck involved. There's so many random variables that you can never control. If you have some very expensive kettle that does perfect temperature readings, if you have an expensive grinder that does a perfect unified grind size, what do you call it, particle size distribution is perfect, the water is perfect, the temperature is perfect, and then you have a roast that was perfectly roasted exactly like 3 weeks and 5 days ago, and that's the optimal for that coffee. Yeah, maybe then you can replicate that in a cafe, and I suppose that's what you do here. You look for the perfect thing in the brew bar, so you just have to experiment with the good gear, and you can set it. But at home, it's like I think doing too much. If you try to do like the best brew bar, espresso bar quality at home, when you just want to drink your coffee in the morning, nobody does that perfectly. You know, there's always going to be things that you don't control. Even the humidity in the air is going to change your grind setting, so there's always some variable that you cannot control. So you always just need luck.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is the luckiest moment that brought you to the place that you are in coffee? What was like some huge piece of luck that made everything possible? Because I suppose there was something like you somehow managed to meet the right people, right?
Well, not really, because if you try hard enough, you're gonna make it someday, somehow, some way. You're gonna make it.
Yep.
The luckiest part of my roasting trip or my roasting adventure or something like that, or my coffee scene, I don't know how you want to call it, experience, is when I found that is very 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 very, I don't know how to, entertaining to work with coffee.
Yep.
And treat drinking coffee only as a result of the fun you're having while preparing it.
Yeah. That's the most
When
important
I found
thing.
that I'm not, I enjoy the process, I enjoy doing the stuff, I enjoy doing everything. I didn't really enjoy drinking coffee that much, but I enjoy finding out about the results of what I'm doing.
Yeah. And the whole ritual as well. Like
If you're maintaining it in a fun,
just having fun. Yeah.
just having fun with it, and enjoying drinking it, then it's all it is.
Yeah.
It's all it is. You're gonna learn anyway.
Right.
If you're
So,
doing that.
what would you say is the number one most important thing when it comes to coffee? It's not the water, it's not the beans, it's not the roast,
It's having fun.
it's having fun. Exactly. So, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a huge pleasure to talk to you, to participate in the cupping and everything. I really respect the fact that, because I asked you what specialty is for you. I think specialty, the thing that it is for me, and I hope it doesn't change when I learn more about this like branch of business, is that the most passionate people are here. Like you can talk to someone and they actually like want to do it, because as you're saying, it doesn't make sense to do like all this work if you're not actually passionate about it. So the fact that you have an espresso bar that people can just like come to, try the espresso from micro lots, try the coffee session experience by Juan with the different like methods of brewing. They can learn what's the difference between the taste from an AeroPress, from espresso, from filter, to see everything and all the changes, and to see people that actually care about educating. Like you have the sign that says "Change the world, start with coffee," and I feel like that resonates with the idea of specialty heavily, because I feel like you could just do just source some cheap beans from Brazil, from some other countries, make a little blend, roast it perfectly so it tastes like the nuts that people like, and have what Lavazza and Chibo do, and you have cheap coffee that's good for most people. But you can also take the extra step, actually try to be good for the farmers, be good for the people, try to like just keep the passion flame alive. And I think that's the most beautiful thing, because it's one thing having fun, and I saw you in Instagram you also have the like we're just kids with better tools and stuff like that. I really like that. Yeah. And I think one thing is being a kid and allowing yourself to be a kid and experiment and have fun, because coffee is just playing with sand. You're like, as a kid you play with sand, now you play with coffee as an adult. It's just same thing.
Yeah. Basically, that's what we're trying to do here, is learn ourselves first, because we're learning every day something new, something different, something interesting, something. We learn about the errors we're making around the road, and we try to correct that and stuff like that. But we're always having fun, and we're always very happy of finding new stuff and learning about people, about coffee, about processing methods, about ways of enjoying coffee, and I don't know. It's a whole world it's very 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 fun for us, and it's something that we really enjoy doing. And I from my perspective, I wouldn't be able to do something, to have a job that I don't enjoy doing.
Same.
And if I can end with an advice for the people watching or trying to find some meaning in life, just try as many stuff as you can until you find something. And until you find something, it doesn't really need to do to do nothing with coffee. But try to find something that you enjoy doing, and do that until someone decides to pay you for it.
Yeah.
Basically,
Find a way
that's
to make it your job.
Yeah.
Find what you like
Yeah.
and make it your job. Yeah.
Make it your job. And that's about it. Life is going to be easy after that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
a huge pleasure to talk with you, and we can have the official handshake. Thank you so much.
Thank you.